poem as Froth on the Face of the Deep by Rossetti. So our LO today is to consider how religion is presented in Rossetti's poem. Please make sure you have the poem in front of you and of course any context notes that you'd like to refer to or add to in this lesson. So our energy task today is without looking, so do not cheat, what Rossetti poems can you remember that link to the theme of religion? So have a think about that. So there are a number that link to religion, quite explicitly, a lot of them. So do you have a consideration of what her views are on religion and how she presents them in her poetry? So the poem then. As froth on the face of the deep, as foam on the crest of the sea, as dreams at the waking of sleep, as gourd of a day and a night, as harvest that no man shall reap, as vintage that never shall be, is hope if it cling not aright. O my God, unto thee. Okay, so it's a very short poem, a very devotional poem to God. So do have a little think about what is she trying to express there. Now bear in mind, link it to the context. So, think about her religious views and then think about, okay, how are they presented in this poem? Because she's quite explicit in this one. So do have a think about it and then I'm sure we'll go through it. So summary then. So this is a short but very powerful devotional poem in which Rossetti is asserting her faith. For her, life is insubstantial and hopeless without God. So the effect is prayer-like and deeply sincere, and this poem is also an allusion to the creation in Genesis, where the earth was created, when God gave form to an insubstantial, shapeless void. And the quote from the Bible is, "And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." So she's basically arguing that without God, life is pointless. Nice and simple. So the theme is obviously religion and the importance of God, and Rossetti continually throughout the poem reiterates how life would be meaningless and impossible without God. So it's quite a simple idea really being presented in this poem. So nice one slide analysis really, because it's not very long at all. So as froth on the face of the deep, as foam on the crest of the sea. So the first two similes are obviously related to sea imagery. The froth is like the white froth, I suppose, on a sea. And then the foam on the crest, so if a wave comes up, it's like white at the top. That's the foam of it. And then she talks about how he's the word deep and crest. So God penetrates everywhere from the depth to the height of everything. So obviously deep in the sea, and the crest is the highest point of a wave. So he's doing the high and the low, he gets everywhere. And foam and froth are insubstantial, as is a world without God. So foam and froth are, they do nothing, they mean nothing. But without God, the world is nothing. The next two lines, as dreams at the waking of sleep, as gourd of a day and night. Well, firstly, a gourd is a fruit with a hard shell. They have come up in other of previous Rossetti poems, so do have a look, but they're just a hard fruit. And these pair of similes are related, but they are opposites, that reinforce the idea that God penetrates all aspects of life. So Rossetti sees day and night encapsulated in a small space. So as dreams at the waking of sleep, as gourd of a day and a night. God is able to get day and night, awake, asleep. He's everywhere. And without him, you couldn't have either. Next bit, as harvest that no man shall reap, as vintage that never shall be. These two are related through food and drink. They refer to vital aspects of life that mean nothing without God. A harvest produces food, but is often used metaphorically to mean anything that brings benefit or profit. Here, a harvest is meaningless without man's trust in God. Likewise, the vintage may refer to good wine maturing over time, but time and the wine that it produces will not be enjoyed by man. That should be my, not my. So essentially, without God, the harvest couldn't happen, the wine couldn't happen. So that's how important God is, because without him, none of this could happen. And then the final two lines is hope if it cling not all right, O my God, unto thee. So the conclusion states that hope is also meaningless if it cling not all right to God. So basically, there's no point in hoping anything unless you're hoping with God, like for God to do something, because he's the only one who can do it. Which, is Rossetti's view. The exclamatory O suggests emotion after the measured simile. So all the way through she's been quite calm, I suppose, and now it's like, oh my God, unto thee. She's being emotional there. Again, showing how important God is, because that's the first time God is mentioned in the poem, and the only time. And the possessive my, the possession my, relates the universality of the theme to Rossetti's personal view of God. So basically, while it might be her God, we all have our own God. And so without him, all of our life is pointless, and without hope with him, hope is pointless. It's a cheerful-ish poem, in the sense that, with God, everything will be great. So that's kind of what she's implying. It's not meant to be a difficult poem, because once you grasp the idea of what she's saying, that is all it is. This is just a very short devotional poem to God. If you want further research on it, of course, you can look at that website on the screen. It's a very quick revision source of the poem. There's very little on this poem, if I'm brutally honest, because it's so short and because there's not much to say on it. Once you've got the idea of what it's about, there's less to do with it, or at time of recording there is less to do with it. But do have a look and see what's about, and I'm sure if there's more released, your teachers will give them to you. But at this moment in time, there is very little written on this poem. So all I'd like you to do is just make sure that your notes are on your A3 grid.